Have you ever wondered why the mighty Roman Empire, which conquered vast lands from the Middle East and North Africa, and most of Europe, never managed to take over Ireland? The Romans ruled Britain for nearly 4 centuries, building massive roads, cities, and forts, yet they never extended their reach into Ireland. Unlike Gaul, modern-day France, or Spain, where Roman rule lasted for centuries, Ireland remained untouched. No Roman laws were enforced there, no Roman legions marched on Irish soil, and no great Roman cities ever stood on Ireland. But why? Was it because the Romans couldn't reach it? Were they afraid of the fierce Irish warriors? Or did they simply not care about Ireland at all? This is a mystery that has fascinated historians for centuries. The Romans were ambitious conquerors, known for their military strength, advanced technology, and disciplined armies. So what made Ireland different? In this video, we will uncover the many reasons why the Romans, with all their power, never conquered Ireland. We will dive deep into geography, military strategy, economic reasons, and even the mindset of both the Romans and the Irish. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of why Ireland remained one of the few places in Western Europe that the Romans never controlled. There are many layers to this story, and the answer is not as simple as it seems. So, stay with us as we take a fascinating journey into history and discover why Rome, the most powerful empire of its time, left Ireland alone. The power of the Roman Empire. Before we understand why Rome never took Ireland, we need to appreciate just how powerful the Romans were. The Roman Empire was one of the greatest civilizations in history. At its peak, it stretched from modern-day Scotland in the north to Egypt in the south, and from Spain in the west to Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. In the east, the strength of the Roman Empire was built on 3 major things. A fearsome military. The Roman legions were the best trained and most disciplined soldiers of their time. They fought in tight formations, using superior tactics and advanced weapons. Their armor and shields were designed for both offense and defense, making them almost unbeatable in battle. A strategic mindset. The Romans didn't just fight wars for fun. Every invasion was planned carefully, considering geography, resources, and long-term benefits. A strong economy and infrastructure. The Romans built roads, forts, and supply chains wherever they went. This allowed them to control vast territories with efficiency. They had conquered Britain in AD 43 under Emperor Claudius, and by the late 1st century, they had firm control over most of the island. They built cities like Londinium, modern-day London, and Eboracum, modern-day York, introduced Latin as the dominant language, and imposed Roman law. Yet, for all their might, they never crossed the Irish Sea to take Ireland. The first major reason, geography. One of the biggest reasons why Rome never conquered Ireland was simple: geography. Unlike Britain, which was separated from mainland Europe by a relatively narrow channel, Ireland was further west, separated from Britain by the Irish Sea. This was a significant problem for the Romans. Their expansion strategy was based on land-based warfare. They preferred to conquer regions that were connected by land, where they could march their armies and maintain strong supply lines. Ireland, however, was an island that required a full-scale naval invasion. This presented several challenges. Roman ships were not designed for large invasions. While the Romans had a navy, their ships were mainly built for short trips and coastal defense, not for launching full-scale invasions across unpredictable waters. The Irish coast was difficult. Unlike southern Britain, which had natural harbors, much of Ireland's coastline was rugged, with rough seas and strong winds making it dangerous for Roman ships. Supply lines would have been a nightmare. Even if the Romans had landed, they would have struggled to transport enough food, weapons, and reinforcements across the sea to maintain control. These factors alone made Ireland a challenging target. The Irish warriors, unpredictable and fierce. Another major reason why Rome never conquered Ireland was the nature of its people. The Irish were fierce warriors who fought in a completely different way from the armies Rome was used to facing. Unlike the organized societies in Gaul and Britain, which had kings that Rome could defeat and replace, Ireland was divided into many small, independent kingdoms called Atha. Each tuath had its own ruler, and rather than forming a centralized government, they operated like separate tribes. This made Ireland difficult to conquer because there was no single leader to defeat. In Britain, Rome could target the most powerful tribes and force them to surrender. In Ireland, there was no central power structure. Even if Rome defeated one Tuath, many others would continue to resist. The Irish fought using guerrilla tactics. Unlike the armies of Britain or Gaul, which fought in large formations, the Irish preferred quick raids and ambushes. They were masters of the land, using forests and mountains to their advantage. The Romans were used to structure battles. The Roman legions excelled in open field warfare, where their disciplined formations could overwhelm enemies. In Ireland, this style of fighting would not have been as effective. The Irish had a warrior culture that was deeply rooted in their society. They were known for their skill in battle, their loyalty to their clans, and their fearless approach to warfare. Even if Rome had attempted an invasion, they would have faced relentless resistance. Was Ireland worth the effort? The Roman Empire was practical. It only conquered places that offered clear benefits, whether in resources, strategic position, or economic value. Ireland, however, didn't offer much in terms of wealth or strategic advantage. No major cities to take over. Unlike Britain or Gaul, Ireland had no established cities that could serve as Roman administrative centers. Few valuable resources. While Ireland was rich in farmland, the Romans already had plenty of fertile land in Britain, Gaul, and other conquered territories. The cost of war. Conquering Ireland would have required a massive military effort, and there was little evidence that it would bring back enough wealth to justify the cost. Instead of invading, Rome chose to trade with Ireland. Archaeological evidence shows that Roman goods, such as coins, jewelry, and pottery, made their way to Ireland. This suggests that the Irish and Romans had peaceful interactions through trade. The bigger picture, Rome had other problems. Even if the Romans had wanted to invade Ireland, they had other, more pressing concerns. By the time they had conquered Britain, the Roman Empire was facing challenges on multiple fronts. The Picts in Scotland, the fierce tribes of Scotland, known as the Picts, were constantly resisting Roman rule. Emperor Hadrian even built a massive wall, Hadrian's Wall, in northern Britain to keep them out. Threats from Germanic tribes. In Central Europe, Rome was constantly at war with Germanic tribes who threatened their borders. Internal struggles. Rome itself faced political instability, economic troubles, and civil wars. With all these problems, launching an invasion of Ireland was simply not a priority. When we look at the vast empire Rome built, stretching across continents, it's almost strange to think that Ireland, a land so close to Britain, was left untouched. After all, the Romans were known for their ambition. They didn't just stop at the borders of Europe. They pushed into Africa, the Middle East, and even attempted to conquer the distant regions of Scotland. So, why did they decide to leave Ireland alone? The answer isn't just one thing. It's a combination of factors that, when put together, show why Ireland was simply not worth the effort for the Romans. First, Ireland's geography played a major role. Unlike Britain, which was relatively easy to reach from mainland Europe, Ireland was separated by the unpredictable Irish Sea. The Romans preferred to expand over land, where they could march their well-trained legions, build supply roads, and maintain control over newly conquered regions. An invasion of Ireland would have meant launching a full-scale naval operation, which was risky and expensive. The Irish coast was rugged, offering few natural harbors where large Roman fleets could land safely. Even if they had managed to establish a foothold, they would have struggled to maintain supply lines. Unlike the great cities of Gaul or Spain, Ireland lacked large settlements that could serve as Roman administrative centers. There were no major roads, no central government to overthrow, and no organized kingdom to take over. Rome excelled at defeating structured societies, but Ireland was different. It was a land of independent clans and warriors who had no single leader to surrender on their behalf. Rome's military success was built on disciplined, strategic battles. They fought in formation, relying on teamwork, advanced weapons, and battlefield tactics to overwhelm their enemies. But the Irish didn't fight like that. Irish warriors were known for their skill in hit-and-run tactics, surprise attacks, and ambushes. Instead of large armies, they fought in small, independent groups that were difficult to track and defeat. Even if the Romans had landed in Ireland, they would have faced relentless resistance from warriors who knew the land far better than they did. Unlike the structured societies of Rome, Irish culture was deeply tied to clan loyalty. Each clan, or tuath, had its own leaders and its own way of fighting. There was no single power the Romans could negotiate with or bribe into submission. Every village, every warrior, every leader would have been a new enemy, making Ireland a never-ending battlefield. The Romans had already experienced this kind of struggle in Scotland, where the fierce Pictish warriors refused to be subdued. In response, Emperor Hadrian built a wall to keep them out rather than waste more resources fighting them. If Scotland was already more trouble than it was worth, why would Rome willingly take on another region full of fierce, independent fighters? Conquering a new land was an expensive endeavor for Rome. It required soldiers, ships, resources, and years of effort to fully integrate a region into the empire. The Romans were pragmatic. They only pursued conquest that provided long-term benefits, whether in wealth, resources, or strategic positioning. Ireland, unfortunately for Rome, didn't offer much in this regard. It had fertile land, but Rome already had vast agricultural territories in Britain, Gaul, and beyond. There were no significant gold or silver mines, no large trade cities, and no central government to take over. In contrast, Rome found that trading with the Irish was far more profitable than fighting them. Evidence of Roman coins, pottery, and luxury goods in Ireland suggests that the Irish had interactions with the Romans, not through conquest, but through commerce. Some Irish people may have even served in the Roman military or lived in Roman Britain, learning about the empire without ever being conquered by it. If Rome had invaded Ireland, they would have faced a long and costly war with little to gain. And at the time, Rome had much bigger problems to deal with. By the time they had fully secured Britain, they were already struggling to maintain control over their other borders. Germanic tribes in Central Europe, rebellions in Britain and Gaul, and rising threats from the Parthians in the east meant that Rome was constantly putting out fires. They had to make choices about where to send their soldiers and resources. Invading Ireland simply didn't make the cut. The Romans were already struggling to hold the lands they had conquered. Why add another difficult, costly war to the list? Because Rome never conquered Ireland. The island's culture developed differently from the rest of Western Europe. While much of Britain, Gaul, and Spain became heavily Romanized, adopting Latin, Roman law, and customs, Ireland remained independent. This allowed Celtic traditions, language, and societal structures to continue untouched. In fact, when the Roman Empire began to collapse, Ireland played a crucial role in preserving knowledge and culture. During the so-called Dark Ages, Irish monks and scholars kept many important texts safe and later helped spread learning back into Europe. If Rome had conquered Ireland, everything from its language to its customs might have been different. Irish history, mythology, and even its early Christian traditions would have been shaped in a completely different way. Today, when we look at a map of the old Roman Empire, we can see its mark on many countries. France, Spain, Britain, and much of North Africa still bear the cultural and architectural influence of Rome. Roads, ruins, and even languages reflect the empire's impact. But Ireland remained uniquely itself. Rome may have left a lasting legacy on much of the world, but its absence in Ireland is just as fascinating. The Irish way of life, untouched by Roman rule, grew and evolved in its own distinct way, shaping the country's history for centuries to come. So, do you think Rome made the right choice? Could they have successfully conquered Ireland if they had really tried? Or would the Irish warriors, like the Picts in Scotland, have fought them off no matter what? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We have plenty more historical mysteries to explore, so stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.